Picture this, a courtroom. So quiet you could almost hear a pin drop. A man named Wade Wilson is on the stand, about to confess. But trust me, it is not the confession anyone is expecting. He's about to unravel a secret his father has spent a lifetime trying to bury.
And boom, with those words, the entire case just implodes. This isn't just a testimony anymore. It's an accusation that points a finger directly at his own father, dragging a hidden crime out into the light. So let's dig into this. Let's start with the man right at the center of this storm, the one who just flipped his own trial completely on its head.
You know, when you look at Wade Wilson on the stand, you don't see a monster. Not at all. He just looks exhausted, like a man who's been carrying an impossible weight for years. His hands are trembling, but for the first time, there's this spark of resolve in his eyes.
And that's the real question here, isn't it? The one that's just hanging in the air, silencing every single person in that room. What really happened on that horrible night? And what kind of secret could possibly be so powerful that it pushes a son to turn on his own father in open court? Well, that's what we're about to find out.
To really get what this confession means, we've got to go back. We have to understand the world Wade grew up in, which, honestly, sounds less like a home and more like a prison built by his own dad.
Wade's whole life was lived in his father's shadow. This wasn't just a strict parent. This was a man the entire neighborhood was afraid of. His voice alone could just freeze a room. So for Wade, fear was basically the air he breathed, and doing what he was told wasn't a choice, it was the only rule. And then, one night came along that shattered absolutely everything. A fight breaks out. The shouting is echoing through the house. It was like years of tension finally boiled over into something terrible. Right in the heat of that moment, a command was given. And it wasn't a suggestion, it wasn't a plea. It was a direct order from father to son. Those are the words that have been haunting Wade ever since. The words that shoved him into a darkness he could never really climb out of. This is really the heart of the whole thing. For years, the official story, the father's story, was that it was a tragic accident, that Wade was a hero, protecting his family. But Wade's truth? Oh, it's so much darker. It wasn't about protection. It was about submission. An act carried out because he was paralyzed by fear. All right, let's jump back to the present day. We're in that courtroom again, and Wade is getting ready to tear down the entire wall of lies that has basically defined his whole life. The judge is leaning forward, practically demanding the truth. Not the story that the lawyers cooked up, not the version his father coached him on again and again, but the real, raw story of what actually happened that night. Wade takes this deep, shuddering breath. The whole room just goes silent, everyone holding their breath right along with him. He looks directly at his father, who's been sitting there cold as ice this whole time, and he starts the sentence that's about to change everything.
And there it is. With that one single statement, the whole defense, the family's story, the entire lie, it all just comes crashing down. And the room just erupts. Absolute chaos. Lawyers are jumping to their feet. You can hear people gasping in the gallery. And for the very first time, the father's mask of calm just cracks. His eyes go wide, not with anger, but with the pure shock of realizing he's finally lost control. So, you have to wonder, why confess now, after all these years of silence? Because that fear, it kept him a prisoner long after the crime was over. This trial wasn't just about guilt or innocence for him. It was his one and only shot at freedom. Not freedom from a jail cell, but freedom from the psychological prison his father had built around him his entire life. This confession, it really forces all of us to look beyond just the crime itself and ask a much, much deeper question. How are monsters actually created? Wade's final words on the stand they're haunting. They cut right through all the legal arguments and go straight to the heart of his own personal tragedy. This is his claim. He wasn't born a killer. He was shaped, molded, and forced into becoming one by the very person who was supposed to protect him. And that's what this whole thing boils down to, really. Wade Wilson's confession isn't just about guilt. It's an act of survival, plain and simple. It's a son finally trying to break the chains of his father's darkness so he can reclaim some piece of himself, no matter what it costs him. So,
As the court gets ready to deliver a verdict, we're left with this. Sure, Wade will face judgment for his actions, but his testimony, it's put the very idea of